Hello, my name's Don Bauer. In this video I'm going to give you some ideas about how to do low light photography. I got a request in one of my other videos down there or over there, and somebody's asking me, how do I do low light photography, and I thought, is it not pretty obvious? You just kind of go out when it's dark and take some photos. And then I broke it down, I thought about it, broke it down a little bit, and I realised there's actually quite a few different things to do with low light photography. And there's also different types of low light photography you can do. First one is pretty much handheld low light photography. Another one is star photography, where you get ones of the skies, of the stars, clouds, whatever. And another one is kind of street photography, where you get pictures of all the cars driving one way, and it's like lava flowing through the street. So that's a couple of different types of low light photography you can do. There's also kind of wedding, indoor, interior photography, which is kind of like low light photography as well, but not quite as demanding as nighttime photography. So there's three main variables that you can use to get a good low light photo. They are shutter speed, ISO, and aperture. When you're doing low light photography, certainly at night, you really need to have your camera on manual mode, because inevitably it will try and make the image as bright as possible, and it sometimes won't convey the fact that the image was taken at night or when the town was very, very dark. So you've really got to use it on manual and take a couple of photos to see how bright it's making the image. If you are doing handheld photography, so you're walking around the street, you're trying to get people coming out of bars, coming out of nightclubs, documentary shots of in the town, then you want to do it with your camera in your hand. You don't want to be bringing out a big tripod, stopping, putting it down. So what you really need to do is jam up your ISO, which is your sensitivity of your sensor. Most digital cameras now can go up to 1600, 3000 something, or even higher. And unless you're planning on sticking your photos in the National Gallery, or if you think you're really going to be selling them, then don't be afraid to stick your ISO right up. I regularly shoot with my Nikon D300 at 3200 during the night, and the images are absolutely fine. With Adobe Lightroom you can take out some of the noise, but generally the 12 million pixels, when it's squeezed down onto a normal photo, even an A4 size image, you don't really notice the noise created by high ISO, certainly on the newer, more professional digital cameras. And if you go into the D3 and D700, then it's amazing. The other thing that's quite handy is having a good lens. So your average kit lens won't really have a great wide aperture. What you'd want is really something which is like this. This is a wide angle f2.8, which is good, but even in low light photography you probably want even brighter. Sigma do a whole pile of lenses, like a 20, 24 and a 28mm lens, which go down to f1.8, which are super wide and getting lots of light. So if you have your ISO up at 3000 and your aperture at f1.8, then you could do it almost at like a 60th of a second out in just street light. The next kind of type of low light photography is taking photos of the sky, of the night, of the moon, of the stars, of whatever you want. And with that, what you really, really need is a tripod. A good, sturdy, heavy tripod that you can leave out in your garden, pointing straight up at the sky for a long time and not be worried about the slightest breeze blowing it over. Granted, if it's windy, you'll probably get camera shake, but if it's just a little, then you want one which is going to be, this is about 2 kilograms. But even then, when you've got the extra 1.5 kilograms of the camera on top, it is pretty heavy and it's not going to move. When you're doing star photographs, you really don't need high ISO, you really want it quite low, and also aperture of your lenses is kind of important. What you really want is a sharp lens. It's not necessarily a wide aperture lens, because normally you stop down quite a bit. So in other words, if it's an f2.8 like my wide angle lens, then I wouldn't be shooting the stars at f2.8. I'd probably be stopping it down to around about 5 or aperture 8. And that means that's usually when the lens is at its absolute sharpest, and usually the spots of the stars are usually tiny, so it needs to be nice and sharp. So wide aperture isn't important, but as long as you've got a very, very sharp lens, then that's what you really need for star shots, and a great tripod. The last kind of photography is where you're shooting in the street and you've got the cars and the people rushing by, and it's just all kind of nice and blurred. Again, for that you'll need the tripod and a good lens, I would say again, especially if you can get one with vibration reduction, because a lot of the time if you're, say, beside a street and there's big cars going past, there will be lots of vibrations in the ground. You may not feel it through your nice squishy shoes, but it will be shaking the tripod and maybe the camera. So vibration reduction is quite handy in that case. Other than that, interior photography, then it's really a case of tripod and really high ISO and wide angle lenses to really do it. So I hope that's given you a little couple of ideas, might not have done, and I hope you've liked the photos that I've shown during the video. If you have any other questions, feel free to give me a little message down below and I'll do my best to make a video for you. Thanks a lot, speak to you soon, bye.